For every female killer the world condemns without mercy, there's another it can't stop watching, Googling, quoting, or quietly defending. One cradled newborns by day and poisoned them by night. Another lured men in with soft words, then pulled the trigger without blinking. Some are hated beyond redemption, faces of betrayal, cruelty, and cold calculation. Others, they became icons of mystery, misunderstood by millions or even romanticized despite the blood on their hands. Today, we step into the twisted divide between obsession and horror. These are the most loved and most hated female killers of all time. Lucy Letby, born in 1990 in Hereford, England, worked as a neonatal nurse at the Countess of Chester Hospital. Between 2015 and 2016, she murdered 7 infants and attempted to kill at least 6 more. The method? Silent and sadistic, injecting air into veins, poisoning with insulin, or overfeeding milk until the baby's fragile systems collapsed. What shattered the public was the setting. Hospitals are places of healing, newborn units are temples of life, and Letby's betrayal of that trust made her a symbol of monstrous deception. Investigators noticed a disturbing pattern, a surge in unexplained infant deaths, all under her care. In a search of her home, police found a chilling note in her handwriting. "I am evil. I did this." She showed no remorse during the trial. No tears, no confessions, only silence and a refusal to face the victims' families when sentenced. In August 2023, Letby received a historic sentence, 14 life terms with no possibility of release.
You have no remorse. For offences of attempted murder, whole life sentences of imprisonment are reserved for wholly exceptional cases.
The UK erupted in outrage, grief, disbelief. How could someone meant to save lives choose to take them instead? Lucy Letby didn't kill out of passion, or revenge, or profit. She killed because she could. And that's what makes her the coldest kind of monster. But not all female killers inspire revulsion. Some stir something more complex. A twisted empathy, a fascination we hesitate to admit. In our next case is the clearest proof. A woman alone on a Florida highway, thumb out, eyes hollow, and a pistol in her purse. Our first most loved killer wasn't born with sympathy. She fought for it. She never smiled in court. She snarled, cried, cursed at judges, and still millions felt sorry for her. Aileen Wuornos was a prostitute, homeless and traumatized, when she killed 7 men in Florida between 1989 and 1990. Her victims were all clients, shot at point-blank range, their bodies left on highways and in the woods. She claimed it was self-defense, that they tried to rape her, that she had no choice. The evidence said otherwise. Most showed no signs of struggle, some were shot in the back. But Wuornos was no ordinary killer. Her life was a nightmare. Raped by her grandfather, pregnant at 14, abandoned, beaten, exploited. To some, she wasn't just a murderer. She was the product of a system that failed her at every turn. When Charlize Theron portrayed her in the 2003 film Monster, public perception shifted again. Aileen became a symbol of what happens when trauma meets survival instinct and turns to rage. Her final interviews were erratic, paranoid, angry. She spoke of conspiracies, abuse in prison, and spiritual visions.
Yeah.
You killed 7 men.
Yes, you
and
did.
I'm asking you, what got you to kill the 7 men?
And I'm telling you because the cops let me keep killing them, Nick.
In 2002, she was executed by lethal injection. But for many, Aileen wasn't a monster. She was the scream of someone the world refused to listen to until it was too late. Aileen Wuornos didn't just kill men, she exposed the cracks in our compassion and made us wonder who the real monsters are. But not every soft voice hides a scream. Some conceal silence and a smile. A toddler missing, a mother dancing in a nightclub, and a lie that spiraled into a national obsession. Our second most hated killer didn't shoot, stab, or poison. She simply lied and let a nation rot in suspicion. Before the trial, she was just a young Florida mother with a bright smile. After it, she became the most hated woman in America. In 2008, Casey Anthony's 2-year-old daughter Kaylee was reported missing. But the report came not from Casey, it came from her own mother, 31 days after Kaylee vanished. In that month-long silence, Casey partied, entered hot body contests, and got a tattoo that read Bella Vita, beautiful life. When Kaylee's remains were found in a trash bag near the family home, the nation was sickened. The cause of death couldn't be definitively determined, but the duct tape over the child's face told its own story. Casey's behavior raised every red flag. She lied to police, claimed a fake nanny had kidnapped her daughter. Searches for chloroform and neck-breaking were found on her computer. And yet, in 2011, she was acquitted of murder.
Count 1. We, the jury, find the defendant not guilty.
The courtroom erupted in disbelief. Outside, protests raged. The jury cited a lack of concrete evidence, but to the public, the message was clear. Casey had lied, danced, and manipulated her way out of justice. Today she lives in hiding, giving occasional interviews, always insisting on her innocence. But America hasn't forgotten, and it hasn't forgiven. Casey Anthony didn't just lose her child. She lost the trust of a nation, and no courtroom verdict can erase the shadow she left behind. But even the bloodiest evidence can't always silence the cameras. And sometimes the courtroom becomes a stage where killers turn into icons. A camera flash, a naked body, blood on the floor, and a woman fixing her makeup. Our second most loved killer was America's obsession for all the wrong reasons. She spoke softly, smiled gently, and stabbed her ex-boyfriend 27 times, slit his throat from ear to ear, and then shot him in the head. Jodi Arias was, at first glance, the last person you'd expect to be a killer. In 2008, she brutally murdered Travis Alexander in his Arizona home, then calmly went on with her life. When police questioned her, she lied. First, she hadn't seen him, then she had, but someone else had killed him. Finally, she admitted it, but claimed it was self-defense. The evidence told a different story. Photos recovered from a damaged camera showed the two having sex just hours before the killing, and then images of Travis's dead body followed by a selfie of Jodi, cool and composed, right after. What followed was a media circus. Her trial became a spectacle. Networks couldn't get enough. She was beautiful, articulate, calm under pressure. People were fascinated, some even fell in love with her, sending letters, flowers, marriage proposals. Despite overwhelming evidence, she maintained a loyal following. For many, she embodied the contradiction that made headlines irresistible, the angelic face with the devil's hands. In 2013, she was convicted of first-degree murder and sentenced to life in prison.
We, the jury, duly impaneled and sworn, in the above entitled action, upon our oaths, do find the defendant as to count 1, first-degree murder, guilty.
Jodi didn't win her freedom, but she won attention. And in a world obsessed with duality that made her unforgettable, Jodi Arias wasn't just a killer, she was a mirror. One that showed us how easily beauty can blind and how seductive a lie can be when it's told with a smile. But not all lies are whispered. Some are served warm and laced with death. A beef Wellington, 4 plates, 3 coffins, and 1 woman untouched. Our third most hated killer didn't need a weapon, just a lunch invitation. It was supposed to be a peaceful Sunday lunch. A family meal, roast beef, side dishes, and a mushroom stew. But in just days, 3 guests would be dead, and the woman who cooked the meal would become Australia's most infamous suspect. Erin Patterson, a 49-year-old mother from Leongatha, Victoria, invited her ex-husband's parents and his aunt and uncle to her home in July 2023. She cooked a beef Wellington with what she claimed were store-bought mushrooms, only she and her children didn't eat the dish. Within hours, all 4 guests fell violently ill. 3 died from liver failure caused by Amanita Follards, known as the death cap. The 4th survived only after a liver transplant. Erin claimed innocence, called it a tragic accident. But suspicions grew quickly. She had a history of rocky relationships with her in-laws. She refused to answer police questions. She reportedly cleaned the kitchen, discarded the leftovers, and lied about the origin of the mushrooms. The public and press turned on her. Charged with 3 counts of murder and 5 of attempted murder, Erin has pleaded not guilty. The case remains under investigation, but the outrage is already widespread. What terrifies people most isn't the poison, it's the possibility of intention. The quiet premeditation behind a meal. The idea that a simple lunch could be a death sentence. Erin didn't need a weapon, just a recipe and a reason. But sometimes it's not the killer who's on trial, it's the justice system itself. And when the world senses injustice, sympathy spreads faster than facts. A blood-smeared bedroom in Italy, a student alone in a cell, and headlines branding her a she-devil. Our third most loved killer wasn't just judged, she was exported into the fire of a foreign court. She was 20 years old, an American student living in Italy. And overnight, she became the center of one of the most infamous murder cases in modern history. In 2007, Amanda Knox was accused alongside her boyfriend of murdering her roommate, Meredith Kircher. The crime scene was chaotic, blood-smeared walls, conflicting DNA, and sensational headlines. Amanda was painted as a she-devil by the press, a manipulative party girl with a dark side, but the evidence was thin, and the investigation deeply flawed. Police claimed Amanda did cartwheels at the station, that she smiled too much. No physical evidence placed her at the murder scene, and yet she was convicted. The world watched her every move. Some saw guilt, others saw a young woman being destroyed by media frenzy and a broken foreign justice system. After 4 years in prison, Amanda's conviction was overturned. She returned to the US and later became an advocate for the wrongfully accused.
My family's the most important thing to me right now, and I just want to go and be with them.
Her story remains controversial. Was she innocent or just lucky, manipulative or misunderstood? But what made Amanda loved wasn't certainty, it was relatability. She was young, confused, alone in a foreign country. People saw their daughters, sisters, friends in her. Amanda Knox didn't ask to be famous, but her survival made her unforgettable. She wasn't a killer with a weapon. She was a symbol of what happens when the system decides your story before you've had a chance to tell it. But for some, freedom isn't enough. Not when the crimes involve cameras, cruelty, and your own sister. An ad in the paper, a farmhouse in Indiana, and suitors who never returned home. Our fourth most hated killer didn't just murder. She industrialized death. She was a widow, a mother, a hard-working immigrant who ran a quiet farm in Indiana. But behind the fences of her property lay dozens of shallow graves. Belle Gunness, born in Norway in 1859, is one of America's earliest and deadliest female serial killers. She lured men to her farmhouse with promises of marriage, security, and shared fortune. They came with hope and disappeared without a trace. Her method was chillingly systematic. She placed lonely hearts ads in newspapers, asking suitors to bring their life savings. Then she drugged them, slit their throats, dismembered the bodies, and fed them to the pigs. Among the victims were not just strangers, but her own children. In 1908, her farmhouse burned to the ground. Inside, authorities found a decapitated female corpse and the bodies of her children. But was it Belle or someone else? Many believe she faked her death, planted another woman's body, and vanished with a new identity. She was never conclusively identified, and sightings of Belle, alive and unrepentant, continued for decades. What makes her so terrifying is the scale and the silence. She didn't just kill for survival or revenge. She built a system, a factory of death. Over 40 remains were found on her land, but the true number may be far higher. Belle Gunness didn't snap. She drafted letters, dug graves, counted savings. She built an industry of death and vanished like smoke in the wind. And her legend still haunts the blood-soaked soil of rural America. But what if the monster didn't vanish into legend? What if she went shopping next to you, smiled at your kids, and rebuilt a life in plain sight? A white wedding dress, a perfect smile, and a secret buried beneath the veil. Our final most loved killer didn't vanish. She reinvented herself. She looked like a fairy tale bride, blonde, smiling, soft-spoken. But behind the veil was a woman who helped orchestrate rape, torture, and murder. Karla Homolka, along with her then-husband Paul Bernardo, formed one of Canada's most infamous killing duos, the Ken and Barbie Killers. Between 1990 and 1992, they abducted, sexually assaulted, and killed at least 3 teenage girls, including Karla's own sister, Tammy. And yet, Karla walked free. She claimed to be a battered wife, a manipulated victim, someone forced into compliance. And in exchange for her testimony against Bernardo, she struck a plea deal, 12 years in prison. But soon after, videotapes surfaced. Horrific footage showed Karla as an active participant, smiling, laughing, even taunting the victims. By then, the deal was done. Public outrage exploded. But Karla, she served her sentence, was released, changed her name, got married, had children, and somehow blended back into society. Some saw her as a rehabilitated woman, others as a wolf in suburban clothing. Photos of her at school events with her kids sparked protests.
I was totally shocked. She's here? Oh my God.
Makes you uncomfortable, like, just, it's not like she was accused of, fraud or something. It's...
Every public appearance reignites the same debate, justice or betrayal. Karla Homolka didn't escape the truth. She escaped the consequence, and her smiling freedom remains a scar that justice never managed to close. Some killed with poison, others with knives, a few with charm, and many with silence. Some with a smile, others with silence. But whether we burn their names in rage or whispered them with fascination, one truth cuts through the noise. We don't judge killers equally. Looks, trauma, charm, and media myths all shape how we see them. Some we fear, some we follow, some we even forgive. But why? What makes one killer a monster and another a misunderstood icon? Tell us in the comments which woman horrified you most, and which one made you question everything you thought you knew about guilt. And if this journey through the darkest corners of the human psyche made you think, subscribe to PinMind and join us next time. Because in the battle between horror and fascination, we're all standing closer to the edge than we think.